Rich men make results impossible to steal by refusing to let their work remain vague. They understand something most useful men learn too late. Hard work is private. Proof is public. You can solve the bottleneck, save the project, carry the pressure, stay late, fix what everyone else avoided, and still watch another man become the story. Not because he worked harder, because he made the result easier to see. This is the brutal law. If your value has no record, no frame, and no name attached to it, it becomes available for someone else to use. That is not only injustice, that is ambiguity. And ambiguity is where credit disappears. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." He was speaking about political reputation, but the mechanism is still alive. Most people do not inspect what you suffered through. They inspect what became visible. So if you are the unsupported man building with no network, no sponsor, and no one opening doors, you cannot afford invisible work. Invisible work may make you tired. Visible proof makes you dangerous. This is not theory. James Dyson did not become undeniable because he told the world he worked hard. He became undeniable because his work became something the market could inspect. According to the James Dyson Foundation, after he replaced a plugging vacuum bag with a rough cardboard prototype of his cyclone design, he spent 5 years and created 5,127 prototypes before producing the DC-01, the world's first bagless vacuum cleaner. That is not motivation. That is proof made physical. Airbnb did not become trusted in the beginning because the founders gave better speeches about the future of travel. Paul Graham described how the founders went door to door in New York, recruited users, and helped existing hosts improve their listings. Y Combinator later described the first practical application as going to host locations to take better photos. The idea was strange. Sleeping in another person's home sounded risky. The value was not yet obvious. So the founders did not only defend the idea, they improved the visible proof. Better listings, better photos, clearer trust signals. The same asset became easier to understand, easier to believe, and easier to buy. Airbnb Professional Photography Program now states that hosts using Airbnb Professional Photography saw, on average, higher earnings and more bookings over the following 365 days compared with hosts who did not. Same asset, clearer presentation, more market trust. This is the first law you must understand if you want money, reputation, and leverage faster than the men around you. The market does not reward the struggle. The market rewards the result of the struggle when the result can be seen, measured, trusted, and attached to a name. Most men are still living under a weak belief. They believe if I work hard, someone will notice. They believe if I am useful, I will be rewarded. They believe if I have talent, the market will eventually find me. This belief sounds humble. It is not humility. It is strategic negligence. Hard work earns nothing until it becomes visible value. A man can be useful for years and still remain poor in reputation, poor in options, and poor in negotiating power, because usefulness alone does not create leverage. Usefulness hidden inside another person's system often becomes fuel for another person's status. This is why so many men feel angry at work and cannot explain the anger cleanly. They know they carried pressure. They know they solved problems. They know they stayed late when others disappeared. They know the project would have collapsed without them. But when the result became public, someone else had the cleaner story. Someone else presented the improvement. Someone else owned the meeting. Someone else summarized the win. Someone else became visible. And the useful man sits there with the most powerless sentence in the modern economy. But I did the work. Yes. But did you make the work legible? Did you capture the before state? Did you record the after state? Did you name the problem? Did you explain your role? Did you attach evidence? Did you distribute the result to someone who could reward it? If not, you did not build proof. You donated value to the fog. And the fog does not protect you. The fog belongs to whoever can speak more clearly, frame more aggressively, and present more confidently. This is why useful men often become resentful. They think they are being punished for being loyal, quiet, and hardworking. Sometimes they are, but often the deeper problem is colder. They are being punished by ambiguity. Ambiguity is not neutral. Ambiguity is a battlefield. When the value of your contribution is unclear, people will interpret it in the way that benefits them most. Not always because they are evil, not always because they hate you, not always because they planned to erase you. Because human beings protect advantage. They protect status. They protect access to reward. They protect the story that places them closest to the outcome. Machiavelli gives the second blade. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are. This is not permission to become fake. It is a warning. If your real value cannot be seen, the world will treat it like opinion. And opinion does not get paid like evidence. Opinion does not negotiate like evidence. Opinion does not build reputation like evidence. Opinion does not survive political rooms like evidence. The unsupported man has to understand this earlier than everyone else because he cannot rely on inherited trust. He does not have a powerful family name walking into the room before him. He does not have a sponsor explaining his value to decision makers. He does not have a circle of influential people repeating his name when opportunity appears. So his proof must arrive first. His work must become his representative. His results must become his witness. His evidence must become his network. If you are starting without support, you cannot afford to be vague. You cannot afford to hope people interpret you generously. You cannot afford to let your strongest work remain trapped inside memory, private effort, scattered files, old messages, and emotional frustration. You need proof so clean that a stranger can understand it. You need results so clear that a decision maker can repeat them. You need evidence so structured that your value no longer depends on someone liking you, believing you, or giving you permission to matter. This is where most men fail. They confuse being valuable with being powerful. A useful man solves problems. A powerful man makes the value of those solutions impossible to miss. A useful man says yes. A powerful man tracks outcomes. A useful man absorbs pressure. A powerful man converts pressure into evidence. A useful man hopes loyalty will be rewarded. A powerful man studies incentives. A useful man completes tasks. A powerful man turns completed tasks into proof assets. This does not mean you become loud, fake, theatrical, or desperate for attention. That is the opposite trap. The loud man exaggerates because his evidence is weak. The fake authority performs certainty because his results cannot carry the weight. The insecure man turns every small action into a public announcement because he is addicted to being seen trying. That is not power, that is noise. The answer is disciplined proof. Document the action, frame the result, attach the evidence, distribute it to the people who can reward it, not inflated, not emotional, not theatrical, accurate, cold, measurable, difficult to deny. The weak man exaggerates. The invisible man hides. The strategic man records accurately. Now look again at Dyson. The story is not valuable because 5,127 prototypes sounds impressive. The number matters because it turns vague effort into inspectable commitment. Without the prototypes, I worked hard for 5 years, is just a claim. With the prototypes, the effort has a body. It has evidence. It has a trail. It has consequence. That is what separates private struggle from public proof. Many men want to be seen as serious before they have built serious evidence. They want the respect of the result while still living inside the privacy of intention. They want people to update their judgment based on potential, suffering, and self-image. But the market is not your family. The market does not care how deeply you believed. The market does not care how misunderstood you felt. The market does not care how many nights you sat alone, imagining the man you could become. The market asks a colder question. What changed because you existed? That question exposes everything. If nothing changed, your ambition is still private. If something changed, but you did not document it, your value is vulnerable. If something changed and you documented it but did not frame it, your proof is weak. If something changed, you documented it, framed it, but never distributed it, your proof is still trapped. And trapped proof does not create leverage. This is why the Dyson example matters. His effort became prototypes. His prototypes became product evidence. The product became a story the market could understand. The story became reputation. The reputation became power. The same law appears in Airbnb. The founders were not only selling accommodation, they were selling trust. And trust does not appear because you ask for it. Trust appears when uncertainty is reduced. A poor listing creates doubt. A weak photo creates doubt. A confusing presentation creates doubt. An unclear result creates doubt. When the founders improved the visible proof, they did not change the entire asset. They changed how the market could read the asset. This matters because many men already have more value than the market can currently understand. They have skills, lessons, systems, small wins, client results, workplace improvements, content experiments, technical fixes, and private learning. But because the proof is scattered, unframed, undocumented, or undistributed, the market cannot read it. And what the market cannot read, it rarely rewards. This is where the hidden mechanism begins. Proof is not bragging. Proof is structured evidence. Proof has 5 parts: action, result, evidence, context, attribution. Action answers what did you do? Result answers what changed. Evidence answers what proves it. Context answers why did it matter? Attribution answers how is this connected to your work? Without action, proof is fantasy. Without result, proof is activity. Without evidence, proof is a claim. Without context, proof is noise. Without attribution, proof can be taken. This is the proof equation. Proof equals action plus result plus evidence plus context plus attribution. This is why saying, "I worked hard," is weak. It gives the listener nothing to measure. Say instead, "I reduced delivery time by 30% by rebuilding the workflow." Do not say, "I helped with the project." Say, "I built the system that removed the bottleneck between sales and fulfillment." Do not say, "I created content." Say, "I built a content system that produced qualified attention, increased inbound leads, and gave the business reusable distribution assets." The market does not buy exhaustion. The market buys outcomes. Your boss does not promote hidden pressure. He promotes visible contribution, scarce skill, reduced risk, and value that can be defended in a room where you are not present. A client does not pay for how much you cared. He pays for a problem solved in a way he can understand, trust, and repeat. An audience does not share your private effort. They share the visible transformation, the clean insight, the useful mechanism, the sentence that names what they felt but could not explain. Machiavelli cuts through every excuse with another line. In the actions of all men, and especially of princes, One judges by the result. He was speaking about rulers. But the modern application is precise. People judge visible consequence, not hidden intention, not private sacrifice, not the emotional difficulty of continuing. Consequence. What changed because you existed? That question must become part of your identity, not because you need to become obsessed with approval, because you need to stop confusing internal effort with external value. Internal effort may build capacity. External proof builds leverage. Internal effort may make you better. External proof makes the improvement visible. Internal effort may help you survive. External proof helps you negotiate. Internal effort may create skill. External proof turns skill into reputation, income, and options. The old man says, "They should notice what I do." The strategic man says, "I will make the result impossible to miss." The old man says, "I do not want to promote myself." The strategic man says, "I will frame the outcome accurately so the right people can evaluate it." The old man says, "I am valuable." The strategic man asks, "Where is the evidence?" This is not a small shift. This is the death of private potential as an identity. Potential is comforting because it cannot be measured. You can protect the fantasy of who you might become for years. You can tell yourself the world has not seen the real you yet. You can believe you are simply waiting for the right chance, the right supporter, the right timing, the right connection, the right moment when everything becomes obvious. But proof is dangerous. Proof can be inspected. Proof can disappoint you. Proof can reveal that the work was smaller than the story you told yourself. Proof can reveal that the market does not understand your value because you never made it understandable. Proof can reveal that you were not only underestimated, you were also unprepared, undocumented, and unpositioned. That is why most men avoid proof. They say they are waiting for opportunity, but they are often protecting their self-image from measurement. They say they do not want to brag. But often, this is fear wearing respectable clothing, fear of being judged, fear of being seen trying, fear of making a claim that can be tested, fear of discovering that their work is not as valuable as their private identity says it is. This is where the unsupported man must become colder. Humility is not hiding results. Humility is telling the truth without inflation. Strategic proof is not self-worship. It is accurate evidence placed where opportunity can see it. And once you understand this, you stop begging people to notice your effort. You stop waiting for a manager to remember what you carried. You stop hoping clients can sense your quality through your tone. You stop assuming the market will discover you because your intentions are pure. You start building a record, and the record changes the game. Because the man who controls the record controls the argument. Memory is weak. Documentation is stronger. Emotion is weak. Evidence is stronger. Private effort is weak. Public proof is stronger. This is how results get stolen. First, you do the work but do not name it. Second, you finish the project but do not save evidence. Third, you solve the problem but do not describe the before state. Fourth, you improve the system but do not measure the after state. Fifth, you let another person summarize the results. And once another person summarizes your contribution, they control the frame. If they are honest, maybe you are safe. If they are ambitious, maybe you disappear. If they are political, they will speak in a way that makes them central and you peripheral. Not always because they hate you, because humans protect advantage. That is the game you're actually in. Not the fantasy game where hard work automatically becomes reward. Not the childish game where talent is always discovered. Not the comfortable game where being useful guarantees respect. The real game is perception, evidence, framing, distribution, and leverage. Machiavelli wrote, "It appears to me more appropriate to follow up the real truth of the matter than the imagination of it." The real truth is this: a man with invisible effort has weak leverage. A man with repeated proof has options. Options are power. But this creates the next problem. Proof alone is not enough if it stays hidden. A file buried on your laptop does not create reputation. A result sitting inside an old message thread does not create opportunity. A private win that never reaches a decision maker does not become leverage. It becomes another quiet memory inside the life of a man who keeps wondering why nobody sees him. So you need a system that protects your work from disappearance. Build the results documentation file. Not someday, now. Every meaningful result in your life needs a record, not because you are trying to become obsessed with yourself, not because every minor task deserves a trophy, not because you need to turn your life into performance, but because a man without records is always negotiating from weakness. If you cannot show what you did, what changed, and why it mattered, you are forced to rely on memory, emotion, and personal explanation. And explanation is weak when the other side has evidence, authority, or a cleaner story. The results documentation file is your private arsenal. It should contain the project name, the problem, your role, the actions taken, the before state, the after state, the metrics, the evidence, the strategic lesson, and the market value. If you cannot fill these fields, you do not have proof. You have a memory, and memory loses against the man who brings screenshots, numbers, reports, testimonials, dashboards, finished deliverables, links, before and after examples, and a sharper frame. Start with the project name. Give the work a name, because unnamed work is easier to absorb. When a project has no name, it becomes a vague contribution. When it has a name, it becomes an asset. You are no longer saying, "I helped around." You are saying, "I contributed to a specific improvement with a specific function." Then write the problem. Most men skip this because they assume the result speaks for itself. It does not. A result only becomes impressive when the viewer understands the pressure that existed before it. If there was no problem, there is no value. If there was no risk, there is no courage. If there was no constraint, there is no strategic intelligence. Then write your role. This is where credit is protected, not inflated. Protected. If you led the work, say you led it. If you supported a piece of the system, say which piece. If you solved the bottleneck, name the bottleneck. If you created the framework, name the framework. If you only participated, do not lie. But do not erase yourself either. The weak man exaggerates his role. The invisible man minimizes his role. The strategic man defines his role accurately. Then write the actions taken. This is where vague effort becomes visible behavior. Do not write, "I worked hard." Write what you actually did. I rebuilt the workflow. I redesigned the onboarding process. I analyzed the drop-off point. I created the content system. I improved the proposal. I contacted the clients. I cleaned the data. I fixed the handoff. I created the dashboard. I reduced the confusion. I turned scattered activity into repeatable process. Then write the before state. This is essential. Before state creates contrast. Without contrast, the viewer cannot feel the value. If the team was missing deadlines, say that. If the client had no tracking, say that. If the content had weak retention, say that. If the business had scattered leads, say that. If the process depended on emergency meetings, say that. If the project had no owner, say that. The before state shows the world before your intervention. Then write the after state. What changed? Was the delivery time shorter? Was the error rate lower? Was the project clearer? Was the client more confident? Was the team less dependent on chaos? Was the content system more consistent? Was the offer easier to understand? Was the process easier to repeat? Was the decision maker able to trust the result faster? This is where you stop telling people you are valuable and start showing them what your value changed. Then write the metrics. Use numbers when you have them, but do not invent numbers to look strong. False proof destroys trust. If you reduced delivery time by 30%, say it. If you increased qualified attention, say how you know. If you improved retention, show the data. If you saved hours, estimate carefully and explain the basis. If you increased revenue, attach the number. If you reduced risk, show the before and after. And if you have no metric, do not panic. Use evidence. Screenshots, client messages, reports, work samples, links, testimonials, finished deliverables, dashboards, internal updates, public posts, recorded decisions. A useful proof asset does not always need a perfect number, but it does need something outside your own opinion. Then write the strategic lesson. This is the part most men miss. They document what happened, but they do not extract the principle. They say, here is a project I worked on. The strategic man says, this project taught me how to identify bottlenecks, simplify systems, reduce risk, turn confusion into process, and make value easier to buy. The lesson proves you are not just a laborer, you are becoming a thinker. You are not only someone who executed once. You are someone who can transfer insight from one situation to another. That is what makes proof more powerful. It does not only show what you did, it shows how you think. Then write the market value. This is where your work connects to money, reputation, status, or opportunity. Did it save time? Did it reduce cost? Did it increase trust? Did it increase trust? Did it create attention? Did it generate leads? Did it remove confusion? Did it reduce risk? Did it improve speed? Did it make the product easier to sell? Did it make the team less dependent on one person? Did it turn effort into an asset? Market language matters because the market does not buy your exhaustion. It buys the effect of your work on something it already values. This is why you must stop speaking in weak sentences. Do not say, I worked really hard on this. Say, I reduced the friction in the process so the team could deliver faster with fewer emergency corrections. Do not say, I helped the client. Say, I clarified the offer, rebuilt the presentation, and made the value easier for buyers to understand. Do not say, I made content. Say, I created a repeatable content system that converted ideas into assets, improved audience trust, and gave the business a stronger distribution engine. Do not say, I supported the team. Say, I absorbed a specific operational pressure, solved a specific bottleneck, and created a documented process that reduced future dependency on last-minute effort. This is not manipulation. This is translation. You are translating work into language that power understands. Power understands time saved. Power understands money made. Power understands risk reduced. Power understands attention captured. Power understands trust increased. Power understands speed improved. Power understands systems created. Power understands assets built. Power understands proof. And if you cannot translate your work into that language, do not be surprised when people treat your effort as ordinary. This is the first action I want you to take from this video. Join the free membership and complete the results documentation file. Do not wait until you feel ready. Do not wait until your work feels impressive enough. Take one result, one project, one responsibility, one improvement, and turn it into visible proof. Then use the leverage map to connect that proof to a skill path, a proof project, and an execution plan that can create income, reputation, and options. You do not need a perfect life to start building proof. You need one documented result, one clean record, one piece of evidence that makes your value harder to ignore than it was yesterday. But even this is not enough. A file hidden on your laptop does not create reputation. Proof must travel. This is where most men hesitate again. They collect evidence privately, then wait to be discovered. They build the file, but they do not send the signal. They organize the proof, but they do not place it in front of people who can reward it. They say they are preparing when they are actually hiding in preparation because public evaluation threatens their identity. Discovery is not a strategy. Distribution is. Turn one result into a portfolio piece. Turn one outcome into a case study. Turn one lesson into a LinkedIn post. Turn one project into a proposal. Turn one transformation into a YouTube video. Turn one client win into a testimonial. Turn one system into a sales asset. Turn one skill into a demonstration. This is how private effort becomes public reputation. The ladder is simple. Private effort becomes completed output. Completed output becomes documented result. Documented result becomes framed proof. Framed proof becomes distributed proof. Distributed proof becomes reputation. Reputation becomes leverage. Leverage becomes money, options, and control. Miss a step and power leaks. If you work privately but never complete output, you are trapped in effort. If you complete output but never document results, you are trapped in memory. If you document results but never frame them, you are trapped in confusion. If you frame proof but never distribute it, you are trapped in invisibility. If you distribute once and disappear, you are trapped in inconsistency. Reputation is not built from one announcement. Reputation is built from repeated proof that reaches the right audience. This is why the unsupported man must think differently. He cannot depend on people to carry his name. He cannot assume someone will recommend him. He cannot wait for a mentor to appear and translate his value. He must build a trail so clear that every new piece of proof makes the next opportunity easier to justify. This is how you become difficult to ignore without begging. Not by shouting, not by pretending, not by posting empty declarations, by repeatedly placing useful, verifiable, well-framed evidence in front of the market. A case study is proof. A portfolio is proof. A before and after transformation is proof. A testimonial is proof. A public breakdown is proof. A dashboard is proof. A finished deliverable is proof. A finished deliverable is proof. A clear proposal is proof. A useful video is proof. A documented process is proof. A measurable improvement is proof. And over time, these proof assets begin to speak before you enter the room. That is reputation. Reputation is not what you say about yourself. Reputation is the pattern of evidence people associate with your name. If the pattern is vague, you become easy to dismiss. If the pattern is strong, you become harder to ignore. If the pattern is repeated, you become trusted. If the pattern is tied to valuable outcomes, you become paid. This is why you must stop waiting to feel confident. Confidence is not the foundation. Evidence is. A man without evidence needs confidence to compensate. A man with evidence can become calm. He does not need to beg. He does not need to over-explain. He does not need to perform certainty. He can point to the record. Here is what I did. Here is what changed. Here is what proves it. Here is why it mattered. Here is how it connects to my work. That sentence structure can change your career, your business, your reputation, and your self-respect. Because it forces you to stop living inside fantasy. It forces you to examine whether your effort produces assets or only exhaustion. It forces you to ask whether your ambition has become evidence or only identity. It forces you to become the kind of man whose value can survive outside his own head. For the next 30 days, run the proof conversion plan. In the first week, identify invisible work. List every project, result, responsibility, improvement, crisis, client win, content asset, skill demonstration, system, process, or lesson from the last 12 months. Do not judge it yet. Do not say it is too small. Do not say nobody cares. Find the raw material. Most men do not even know what they have done because they move from pressure to pressure without extracting proof. They finish one task and rush into the next. They survive one problem and forget to record the lesson. They help one person and never capture the result. They build quietly for months, then wonder why their life has no visible evidence. The first week exposes whether your last year produced assets or only fatigue. In the second week, collect evidence. Find the screenshots, messages, numbers, reports, links, testimonials, drafts, dashboards, work samples, before and after examples, performance data, public posts, client feedback, internal updates, and finished deliverables. Do not rely on memory. Memory is not a proof system. Memory is emotional storage. Evidence is strategic storage. If your evidence is scattered, gather it. If your evidence is weak, learn from that. If your evidence does not exist, understand the lesson. From now on, you do not complete meaningful work without capturing proof. In the third week, frame the result. Use this sentence. I help move something from one state to another state by doing a specific action, which created a specific value. For example, I helped move the project from 2-week delays to on-time delivery by rebuilding the task handoff system, which reduced missed deadlines and made the team less dependent on emergency meetings. That sentence is not bragging. It is a clean record. It contains the before state, the after state, the action, and the value. It gives the listener a way to understand the contribution without needing to personally witness the struggle. That is the point. Proof makes your work understandable to people who were not there. In the fourth week, distribute one proof asset, not 10. 1. Put one case study, portfolio piece, post, proposal, update, resume bullet, website section, short video, long video, or client message in front of a relevant audience. If you are an employee, send a clean internal update that frames what changed and what role you played. If you are a freelancer, turn a client outcome into a case study. If you are a creator, turn a content lesson into a public breakdown. If you are building a business, turn one experiment into a market-facing insight. If you are job searching, turn one project into a portfolio asset. If you are starting from zero, create a proof project that demonstrates the skill you want to be paid for. The mistake is thinking proof only counts after someone gives you permission to work on something important. No. Sometimes proof begins before opportunity. That is how unsupported men create access. They do not wait for the room. They build evidence that makes the room easier to enter. This is the strategic replacement for the old belief. The old belief says, if people support me, I will build proof. The colder belief says, if I build proof, support becomes less necessary. The old belief says, if someone gives me a chance, I will show them. The colder belief says, I will create evidence before they are willing to believe. The old belief says, my word should speak for itself. The colder belief says, work only speaks when I give it a record, a frame, and a path to travel. This is the identity shift. You are not building to be liked. You are building to become legible. You are not documenting because you are insecure. You are documenting because memory is a weak container for value. You are not framing your results because you need applause. You are framing them because the market cannot reward what it cannot understand. You are not distributing proof because you are desperate. You are distributing proof because opportunity cannot respond to evidence it never sees. The unsupported man has no inherited reputation, no family name opening doors, no powerful circle explaining his value before he arrives, no sponsor making his case in rooms he has not entered. So his proof must arrive first. Your work must become your representative. Your results must become your witness. Your evidence must become your network. Your reputation must be constructed from repeated, visible consequences. This is how a man with no support becomes difficult to ignore. Not by complaining that no one saw him, by building until blindness becomes irrational. But understand the final law. Proof does not make you untouchable. Proof makes you negotiable from strength. It gives you options. And options are where power begins. A man without proof must ask to be believed. A man with proof can ask to be evaluated. A man without proof must depend on someone liking his potential. A man with proof can point to consequence. A man without proof is trapped inside explanation. A man with proof enters the room with evidence. This is why hard work alone is not enough. Hard work can make you tired. Proof can make you dangerous. Hard work can help another man build his story. Proof helps you protect your own. Hard work can disappear into the machine. Proof becomes an asset that travels. Hard work can keep you useful. Proof can make you powerful. Complete. The results. Documentation file inside the free membership. Turn your invisible work into projects, metrics, outcomes, before and after evidence, and market-facing results. Then use the leverage map to choose the skill path, proof project, and execution plan that turns effort into income, reputation, and options. Do it while this idea is still sharp. Because if you close this video and return to the same vague work, the same hidden effort, the same hope that someone will eventually notice, nothing changes. The world will not become more fair because you finally understood the mechanism. The world changes for you when your behavior changes. So take one result, document it, frame it, attach evidence, put it where opportunity can see it, then repeat. That repetition becomes proof. Proof becomes reputation. Reputation becomes leverage. Leverage becomes money, options, and control. This is not about becoming loud. This is about becoming undeniable. Do not wait for someone to discover your value. Discovery is for men still hoping to be chosen. Build the evidence. Frame the result. Distribute the proof. Turn work into proof. Turn proof into reputation. Turn reputation into leverage. Turn leverage into money, options, and control. Hard work is silent. Proof speaks. And if you built the value, do not let it die in private.